I was living in a devil town. I didn't know it was a devil town. Oh Lord, it really brings me down about the devil town. All my friends were vampires. I didn't know they were vampires. Turns out I was a vampire myself in the devil town. I was living in a devil town, and I didn't know it was a devil town. Oh Lord, it really brings me down about the devil town. And just like that, we are done with Friday Night Lights. This is it, the final season analysis from your cult boyfriend. I I thought it was okay. I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion to Friday Night Lights. There were a lot of good moments, um, and there was a decent amount of power. I think the show's at its best in the fourth season, and I wasn't expecting the show to be just as brilliant as it was in the fourth season. The fourth season was just so many things were going right for it. And the Tim Riggins arc had finally completed. Like everything was coming to cathartic completion for me in season four. And then season one is very good as well. I think those are the two best seasons of Friday Night Lights. Season five is okay. It's okay. Speaking of Tim Riggins, I think that the most powerful thing about the show is his absence, because he's only in a handful of episodes here near the very end of the season, the final few episodes, and his absence is felt. His absence is deafening. It's it's all consuming. It's so bizarre watching this show without Taylor Kitsch, without Tim Riggins. It is so weird. Um, but it's a penalty, right? Because like little teenage Jesus, he went and paid for the sins of teen shows and teen drama and Dylan, Texas, and honor and masculinity and all this fucking bullshit. He went and paid the price for it, paid the penalty for it, took the blame, and we felt it. We felt its effect. He really was taken from us. He really was gone. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. What happens to teenage Jesus when he's resurrected and sees that Dylan is still just as fucking depressing and full of nobodies going nowhere as it was before? His sacrifice seemed to have meant nothing. Everyone's in the same position, the same exact position. I really appreciated the scenes that Tim Riggins had with Tyra. And I loved when we left him building the frameworks of his house on that piece of land. And the last words he says to us on the whole show, the last words he speaks are Texas forever. The fuck yeah, as it should be, Texas forever. The episode before the season finale is called Texas whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. That speaks to me. Texas forever. It's his home. No, he'll always be there. In all honesty, Tim Riggins, his arc completed in season four, but I do appreciate spending more time with him in season five, and he's still very sophisticated in season five. It's just his arc for me truly completed in season four, and it was a beautiful arc. Uh, if nothing else, and I do think Friday Night Lights is a very good show. But the most important thing about it to me, the thing that dazzled me the most was the character Tim Riggins, was teenage Jesus himself. Um, I thought that Tim Riggins was brilliant, and I think right now that Tim Riggins is easily one of the 10 best characters to ever appear on a teen show or teen drama, one of the 10 best fictional teenage characters of all time. I am floored, like I said, completely dazzled by Tim Riggins, by Taylor Kitsch's performance, which was basically pitch perfect. Like there's really not a flaw within that performance, and the writing was incredible. Uh, the show was at its most inspired, and I think at its most innovative, and I think at its most philosophically penetrating and erotic when um, when it's exploring Tim Riggins. Tim Riggins. Tim Riggins is the physical poetry of Friday Night Lights. It's all Tim Riggins. And even his absence in most of season five, it's devastatingly felt. You miss him. And then when he comes back, he's not really there because of readjusting after prison. Like he's not really there anymore. You see glimpses of Tim Riggins, the Tim he used to know, but that's changed forever. Maturity can kill that. A lot of kids reach maturity through punishment and through sacrifice, and that kills a large part of the teenage character. Even teenage Jesus Christ himself can't recover from that. But the most important thing about Friday Night Lights is certainly Tim Riggins, one of the most phenomenal and one of the most interesting characters that I've had the pleasure to analyze with you. So, Tim Riggins forever. Tim Riggins forever. Friday Night Lights is cool. I think it did a lot. I think it did a lot um, for teen shows in a way that I don't like really care about though. Because I view teen dramas and teen shows. I view Dawson's Creek and Veronica Mars, The OC and Gossip Girl and Gilmore Girls as perfect television, as good as pop culture art gets. It's my favorite stuff on the planet. I view it as pristine, but I understand that most people don't. And by the way, that sounds like their problem and not our problem. But granted, most people don't view teen dramas or shows the way that I do, or maybe the way that you do as well. We view them um, as works of art, as very important philosophical statements uh, about art, society, culture, and sex. Most people don't. And TV, people who watch TV have a really weird kind of association with the TV that they consume. Um, I mean, if I hear another time someone say that TV is bad for you, I'm just going to swallow a bullet because that is so dumb and so stupid. But there's this thing called prestige TV, prestige TV that that a lot of people seem to like to arbitrarily use to describe shows that they deem better for some stupid, vague reason. Mostly HBO shows occupy prestige TV. Like they kind of have a monopoly on that. So like The Sopranos and the Deadwood and fucking The Wire, like that. Those kinds of shows would be seen as prestige television. But you get some for the other networks as well, like Mad Men or like Breaking Bad, uh, like Game of Thrones. Those are the shows that are prestige television. And prestige to me is just as stupid as elevated horror. Like both don't exist. Both don't exist. Like you want to feel better about like watching television or something. You need to justify it to yourself that you're not actually watching television. You're watching something else. No, man, like you're watching television. Normies like to be really elitist about what kinds of shows they deem worthy. Somehow television is still living in film's shadow, which is so fucking stupid and small-minded to me. Television has surpassed film, and it surpassed it a long time ago. In fact, it surpassed it um, around the age of Dawson's Creek and the OC. That's when television um, surpassed film, and yet television is still deemed better if it's more cinematic. television has very unique and specific powers. Powers that cinema can't touch. And cinema shouldn't want to touch it. Just like television shouldn't want to be like cinema. Because both are uniquely powerful. And they're separate mediums. All right? They're separate mediums. There's different structures involved. There's different ideas involved. There's different goals involved with making them. You know? You're gonna tell me that ballet and stand-up comedy are the same fucking art form because they both take place on a stage? No, it's hardly even both theater, and they both don't have to take place in a theater. There's a lot more. This is such a other topic. This is such another discussion. I'm sorry. The primary point of what I'm saying right now to you is that Friday Night Lights did a lot to legitimize teen shows and teen dramas in the eyes of prestige television. Friday Night Lights, I think, deliberately went out of its way to be held in the same conversation as a Sopranos, as The Wire, as Breaking Bad, as these more seriously discussed and examined shows. And I think that means a lot to a certain kind of person. It doesn't really mean anything to me, right? Because because I love teen drama and teen shows anyway. But Friday Night Lights legitimized it in a very huge way, and it legitimized it by way of its composition that I have criticized that I think only truly worked beautifully in season 4. That's when everything was working just right. Everything was working just right. But the show likes to have an aura of realism. It likes to be a little topical. It likes to explore politics, albeit, in my opinion, on a pretty surface level. All right. It likes to explore romance and eroticism. I think it explores teenage romances in ways that are sometimes too naive, unless we're talking about Tim Riggins. He's the only one who gets to be sophisticated with his romances. And even then, it's by the limitations of Tim Riggins as a character, it can only be so sophisticated, but it's still brilliant, not taking anything away from that. If it sounds like I'm being backhanded, it's because I think I am being backhanded because I think Friday Night Lights is a great show. I don't think it's better than One Tree Hill. I don't think it's better than Dawson's Creek, and I don't think it's better than Gilmore Girls. I don't think it's better than Gossip Girl at all. Gossip Girl is still the best teen drama I've ever watched in my life. All right, but Friday Night Lights is talked about differently, and I understand why it's talked about differently. And it did a lot of hard work to be talked about differently. I just hate the term prestige television, and you see that applied to Friday Night Lights a lot. And I think in a couple ways that's a good thing. That is a good thing. If it took Friday Night Lights to legitimize teen drama and teen shows and for most older people, then I mean thank God for it in the end. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Thank God for it. Friday Night Lights, I think, is the prestige TV teen drama. Um, And I think it's very good, but I do think that the show is constantly trying to be seen as prestige television, very serious or very real. And I think that that holds it back in a lot of different places, and it held it back in the final season as well. Brought up One Tree Hill. I still stand by the criticism I provided in my very first analysis video of Friday Night Lights, where I said One Tree Hill embraced the outrageous, embraced more sensationalist, even cinematic qualities. It embraced its own artifice, whereas Friday Night Lights tried to stubbornly pretend that the artifice wasn't there, that there was nothing artificial about it, tried to pretend it was almost documentary, which I found a little silly and held back certain characters from achieving I think more truly defined dimensions. But that same style is what catapulted it into the level that most people call prestige television. People like to think that they're watching something a lot more smart or a lot more serious than they actually are. I think One Tree Hill tackles a lot more interesting themes in a lot more interesting ways, and does so through camp, through ultraviolence, through tenderness, through eroticism, and mostly through philosophy. I love One Tree Hill. One Tree Hill is still far and away a much better show than Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights has its own unique powers, and those powers are kind of in its tenderness. I do wish it was a bit more complicated in the end. I do wish the show had a little bit more to say at its very end. Molder of men. Can we talk about what that actually means, though? Can we talk about your failures, Eric Taylor? Can we talk about those? I think the only truly sophisticated arc on the whole show, like now that I can step back and view it as a whole, the only completely from beginning to end sophisticated arc is Tim Riggins. That's it. That's it. And it's worth watching this show again and again just for Tim Riggins. There's so much power there and there's so much philosophy there. It's amazing. The other ones, like even Matt and Julie get engaged this season. I still think they're just as naive and shallow and not fleshed out as they were in the first season. In season four, they did some interesting things, but that was it. That's the only time they ever did. Season four was really just a very special season. Like Michael B. Jordan is still killing it. I love Journey Smollett. I loved her so much. Oh my God, I'm developing a crush on her. Jess was a really cool character this season. Really cool. She was exciting, and I do wish we got a little bit more time with her and Coach Taylor because near the end of the series, those were my favorite moments. Her trying to shadow Coach Taylor to become a coach. I wanted to know what it meant, for a young girl to want to be a molder of men and what exactly that meant. But the show didn't at all investigate those ideas. And I would be doing 90% of the work if I were to analyze it right now. But hey, why not? Why the fuck not? I'll do the heavy lifting for the show. Uh, she's taking care of all of her little brothers, all these little kids running around. I mean, like that's her thing. And she really coached just as much as Taylor did. Helped Vince become an honorable person, you know. And she loves those little fucking rugrats that she takes care of. She is a molder of men, and she understands the value of molding honorable men. And she loves the game of football and understands football the way that Coach Taylor does, and might be like the only person who does understand football the way that Coach Taylor does. And it's about providing the future with honorable men. There you go. If only the show could have like maybe thought about this more. I feel like I thought about it more than the show did, but whatever. Loved her to death. My God, so cute. Mindy was a surprise favorite this season. The only time I came close to crying were some of her moments with Becky. Uh, the actress is so good. So good. Some of her moments, like her expressions, like when she finds out that Becky had an abortion in the previous season, she just does this lean back expression, and I can't mimic it because it was so pure and so full of pathos that I almost cried. There are a couple moments like that with her and Becky when she's standing up for Becky and starting to like Becky and take care of Becky and foster her in a large way. I was so impressed by Mindy. What a great character. Billy annoyed the fuck out of me by the end of the season. I do not like Billy. Billy annoys me now. But Mindy, she is so sweet and so cool, and she feels real. Friday Night Lights does feel lived in, you know, does feel like a lived in universe. Mindy feels real. Buddy Garrity has always felt real. Vince's mom, so beautiful. She feels real. His dad feels real. This place does feel real. So much of it feels like it's It's a truly inhabited world. And I think it's easy for a lot of people to relate to the idea of living in a devil town with a bunch of vampire friends, and then you realize you're a vampire too, and how that can really get you down. I'm sure, I mean, I know I relate to it. I mean, I think that that is like a pretty good example of Anywhere America. I just think that Anywhere America is kind of limiting. Um, Teen drama is pretty expansive. You can cover a lot within it, you know. I don't necessarily think that television should strive to be as real as Friday Night Lights did. Um, and I also don't think that Friday Night Lights is as real as it likes to pretend that it is. There is a lot of realism to it, but the artifice is still there. Um, I don't think that television should strive for the kind of realism that Friday Night Lights goes for, because there are always contradictions um, that get in the way of the poetics that you're trying to demonstrate. So I know a lot of people love this show. I think it's very good. I do not love the show. I love the fourth season, and I really, really like the first season. I don't love this show, but I view it as a pioneer within the art form that I love most, teen drama. It's a pioneer, and make no mistake about that. It's one of the most important teen shows ever made. It legitimized the art form. No one can say teen drama is just for kids anymore. But here's the thing, I never thought it was just for kids. And even if it was just for kids, who's to say that kids shouldn't have great art or don't already have great art, right? So it legitimized it. I just don't care if it's viewed as legitimate because I think it's perfect. Doesn't matter if other people think it's perfect. I think it's perfect. The art form as a whole. But a lot of people are really stubborn. And I don't know what they do when they watch teen shows. People who like hate teen shows or view Night Lights differently than they do other teen shows. Is it because when they think back on their own teenage years, there's like a sense of embarrassment about it and they don't want to engage with that? Or do they have like that ridiculous notion of insecurity that most fading generations do? Yeah, I see it as a millennial. I see it within millennials now, directed towards Gen Z. Of they don't want to watch teen shows with kids in them because they just think that all kids are fucking stupid now. All teenagers are fucking uh, nimrods, idiots. Like, is that why? There's a lot of reasons why. I think when you tap into teenage feelings that are always within us, that are still there forever, they're eternal. When you tap into teenage feelings within grown people, you're tapping something very sensitive, and it makes a lot of people insecure and a lot of people feel embarrassed. And with Friday Night Lights, you can approach those kinds of sensitive teenage feelings and grown people in in ways that are more delicate. And that makes the show incredibly valuable because in that sense, in that way, in the way that Friday Night Lights approaches the teen drama, um, people who wouldn't ordinarily um, engage with teenage philosophies can now engage with teenage philosophies and not even know that they're truly doing it. I mean, and I think that teen shows and teen dramas are so important and so sacred that I want everyone to experience a great teenage drama, a great teen television show. And Friday Night Lights, I think, allowed a lot of different people who wouldn't normally watch these kinds of shows to feel the kind of feelings that I'm here all the time gushing over with verbal ecstasy. It lets a lot of different people feel what I feel about a lot of different shows. So Friday Night Lights is very important. I don't think the show's making any truly grand statements in its final season. Nothing that it hasn't already said quite a few different times. Uh, but it's still enjoyable, and there are still quite a few decent moments. Um, and I think it was a very satisfactory way. I was satisfied with the ending. Thought they ended it very satisfyingly. I do like this show, and I do see why. Why? It's so important. Its importance is undeniable. Very good television. Thank you for watching me. I've really enjoyed doing this journey through Dillon, Texas. It's been a blast. It's been really, really, really fun. Friday Night Lights is essential. Texas forever.